episode 3 with me, Mr. Newman, and Mr. Thomas Hill.
Hello.
We are going to talk about morning. How's it going?
Great. Apart from it's winter's arrived in Scarborough. Sunny Scarborough is sunny no more.
Dude, it's arrived here as well. It's actually a little bit chilly in the loft, so yeah, but we're all good. So guys, all right, this week we're going to talk about how to lose weight, even if you believe, or even if you have zero time. The connection's a little bit jumpy, so I'm hoping we'll be able to rock and roll and get through it. As always, guys, if you have any questions, any comments, any feedback, please post. You can post live, or if you've got any questions, we can always do a live or follow up afterwards. So questions, post, and if you are on live, say hello. All right, we've got one LinkedIn user from India, so hello from India. Right, let's rock and roll. So, where are we going to start?
We have people from I think sometimes I think the internet is amazing. I think how you can reach so many different people in different places.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, right? Where are we starting?
So time. I guess time is if I think about me and a lot of people that I work with, I guess similar ages to me in the similar pulls in their life. Kids, I don't know, you don't have children yet, but
Nope.
after school, sometimes I am just a taxi back and forth across town, and in the morning as well. I get up at 6:30 just to get my kids to school and just to manage all that time. So I guess big issue.
It just to let you know, it just broke up a little bit there. But I think you were saying that obviously you the type of people you work with are busy. They've got kids, and yeah, maybe there's not a huge amount of time. So obviously, and you said you're a taxi back and forth for the kids. And to be honest, it's a similar conversation that I have with the guys I work with too. It's like, I don't know, the kids have got this after school club, they've got this, they do this on a weekend. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. That's great. Of course, you want your kids to be active. You want them to be involved in, whatever they're involved in. But it's like, what about you? Like, where does your priorities come in? And, that I love that sort of like saying that you've got to put your oxygen mask on first. You've got to look after yourself first so you can be the best for you, your wife and your kids and your family and your work and all these things. Because if you're always prioritizing everyone else's stuff, then when do you make time for yourself? And that's massively important. But it's not easy.
No, I mean, that does take a bit of a shift in your head, doesn't it? Of actually thinking that if I spend, I don't know, half an hour a day doing something which I feel like it's like selfish, like, I don't know, going to the gym, and I think, well, I should. You're there longer. It's at the end of the day with your family, and maybe and you can do more with your family.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it broke up a little bit then as well. So I'm hoping it's not too bad for the guys. I think it might be yours because it's telling me that you've got 3 yellow bars on my end. Oh no, you're back up to four green bars. All right. Yeah, I think it's a reframe in thinking because I've spoke to guys and it's either a time thing or they don't want to take away their time or maybe some finance that goes into their family because it's like, I feel like I'm selfish. I'm doing that. And I always think to myself, well, what do you think your kids would prefer? And see as well. What do you think they'd like to see in their parents or their dad? Would they like to see him, more in a healthier, fitter mindset and physical condition too? We know how much kids absorb from their parents. So if you see a dad's or a mum, prioritizing their health a little bit more, spending a little bit of time. If you look at like self-care as well and things like that, that's got to be a good thing for your children to see as they grow up. in my mind. And also, I think the word selfish is a really like bad way of thinking about it. Really, I think it's, you look at it as like self-care, all those things you do for self-care, so then you can be the best, but also be around for the longest amount of time possible to enjoy the times like with your kids. You know, every single one of us is getting older. There's no denying that. It's impossible not to be. So it's like, well, how long do you want to be here for? To enjoy all those times. And also, like I say, enjoying the actual time you're here.
And you make a good point about being an example for your kids. If I think of a lot of people that I speak to, and a lot of, if I think about maybe, if I'm being honest, the example that my father gave me in terms of health, he smoked cigars, he drank every day. Like my dad was great, but I'm saying this is habits. He smoked cigars, he drank every single day, and his favorite food was pie and chips. So
You break it up again, Tom. We've been really good in the last couple of weeks. Tricky episode 3. Sorry guys if it is breaking up, because I think
it's like the difficult second album, isn't it? You have your hit, you come in, and it's the second album's always difficult.
That's why Ricky Gervais only ever does 2 series, because the third one's always really difficult. I think Tom's like talking some like real sense there as well, in terms of like, if you look at, we all get influenced by our parents. There's absolutely like no denying it. So it's thinking about what you want that influence to look like. And I think a lot of the times we just get busy with life and work and everything that goes on, and until we take that time to reflect, maybe we don't even think about it. Maybe we literally just don't even like have the time to think about it. And I always think, are you still here, Tom? Just give me a shout if you are. Tom has frozen. I'm sure he'll be back. Hopefully, guys, that I'm not frozen and you're able to hear me. Yeah, we talk about time, and I think one thing that's important to recognise is that, in theory, all we actually do is have time. All we actually do is have time, and it's how we choose to spend that time, which is really important. I'm a big fan of Stephen Bartlett. I listen to a lot of his podcasts, and in his book, he talks about how we basically limited on time. If you're, I don't know, say you're in your 40s and you live to 80, you're halfway. You're literally at the halfway point. So it's like you've got half your life left. Like, how do you want to spend that time? And Stephen Bartlett, he imagine you've got a casino wheel and you've got your chips. So you've got your chips, and chips are representative for amount of time. And it's really important to think about, we've lost Tom, hopefully he comes back. It's really important to think about, like, if you're looking at time as chips, like, how do you want to place your chips? And then those chips become really important. Let's imagine you have a stack, and you literally, this is very visual, you can see it, and each day that stack goes down and down and down. You're probably going to really think about what you want to be doing with your time a lot more than if you don't have that stack. Hopefully, guys, here's Mr. Hill, he's back.
Right, through the wonders of technology, I've created a Wi-Fi hotspot for my phone, which again, I'm just amazed about technology. But yeah, let's see if that works. Otherwise,
all right. Yeah. So just saying, I was just catch up on what you missed just very briefly. Like, I think we look at like time, and I was just saying, like, in fact, all we actually do have is, we're short on time, right? We're all busy, we've got stuff to do, but essentially all we actually do have is time. It's about how we choose to spend that time. And if, you know, like I was just saying, if you're in your 40s, you're potentially at the halfway point. So then time becomes a lot more precious, right?
I'm 42.
Yeah, I'm 40 next year. Yeah, I'm 40 next year. So if I get to 80, I'm halfway. I'm halfway through. If it's a football analogy, I'm having my team talk. I'm eating my oranges, but I'm halfway there. And in Stephen Bartlett's book, he says, if you think about time in terms of chips, you know, that you put on a roulette table, a casino, if you saw them each day and each day you took one away, if you had that visual, you'd probably think about time in a different way. It's the fact we don't see it, and also we don't necessarily know what we've got left as well. But that analogy to me is quite visual. And I think if you saw it, or like if you maybe thought of like a sand timer going down each day, you'd be like, fuck. what do I want to do? How do I want to do things differently?
Yeah, and I suppose the usual. So usually people like fit pros might say, "Well, just get up an hour early and do your stuff," or I don't know, sneak stuff in, But I find those kind of things don't usually work.
Right, this is a little bit of a disaster this morning, isn't it? We've lost Tom again. I think he was going on to say that, you know, I'm sure there's people listening to this or going to watch on the replay that have gone to the gym. They've spoken to a coach or a personal trainer, and they're just like, well, just make time, just find the time. And, you know, you hear those other things that like everyone has the same 24 hours in a day, and it's just not true. Of course, we all have 24 hours, but how they're broken up is different for everyone. And someone that's maybe got 3 kids is going to struggle a lot more than he's back. A lot more than someone like me who doesn't have any children. So yeah, you have the same 24 hours, but how that's split up is a lot more difficult. And if you just got someone that's not necessarily got a huge amount of empathy that just says, well, just find the time, it's just not realistic. And also it's not going to make you feel good, and it's not going to get anyone on your side to go, yeah, do you know what? I'll make the time to I'll find the time to do that, because there's no like empathy there. And I think that's where, I don't know, a bit of age and a bit of experience comes in. When me and Tom have been doing this a long time, but we know that sometimes it's just not realistic for everyone.
Yeah, and things like I've made a couple of notes and maybe possible reasons why people get into the state of not getting started, not doing anything, and something like procrastinating on things. It kind of almost, you can get addicted to that, to procrastinating, because it's your brain is kind of protecting yourself from something. It's protecting yourself from because maybe so if you think about maybe a gym, for example, maybe you hate the gym. And in your mind, you think, right, the only way I'm going to fix the situation is if I join a gym. So your brain goes, do you know what? You have that thought of going to the gym, and your brain knows you don't like that. So it sends you lots of messages to not go. Maybe do it tomorrow. Maybe kind of, oh, you don't need to go, or and you get used to that kind of procrastinating. And another thing, sometimes people want it to happen very quickly. We start and it's like we want it now, and actually it might take a bit of time to get on top of the situation you're in, whether it's weight loss, whether it's fitness, whatever it is. It might take a little bit of time, weeks, months. Maybe you might not get where you want to be in 2 or 3 years, but in 2 or 3 years, if you start making a little change, then there's a bit of a leap of faith to do that. But in 2 or 3 years, you'll look back and say, thank fuck that I actually did that. And that future person will actually look back and say thank you.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's really important to try and almost like fall in love with the process, because people force themselves to do things that they think they should be doing, like go into the gym, and they're not enjoying it. They're not necessarily having a really good workout. So they're not getting the benefits, not seeing the results, and they're going, but I should be, because I'm doing this thing that I think I should be doing. And then there's actually been studies on this as well. Sometimes when people exercise more, sometimes they lose weight because everyone's metabolisms are different and the food may change. A lot of time they stay the same. And there's been lots of studies to say people actually gain weight as well, because everyone's body's made up differently. So if I went for a run, I would feel hungrier in a different way to maybe you do and someone else, and some people won't feel hungry at all. And so there's difference in terms of, like, if you start exercising, we've seen it a lot, people just eat a lot more food because we need to fuel more, but there's some people that won't eat as much food. So that's when it comes back to the diet side of things. So if you are short on time, this is what we want to like give you some real good takeaways. Like, what are the things you can change instead of trying to find an hour a day or half an hour a day, and we're going to help you find that as well. But like, what are things you can change in your diet and your food and, you know, your water, and just getting movement into your day instead of thinking, right, I've got to carve out half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour to go to the gym.
Yeah, and again, there is a lot we speak about is that small changes. And there is a bit of a leap of faith going, I am going to make more changes, and even though brain is saying that's not going to work, over time that will work.
Well, we've seen it, you know, when we become coaches. Oh, he's gone again. He's back. This is literally like I don't know, in and out. You're literally in and out. Like I can't even think of anything. Yeah, like we've seen it. You know, we've seen those small changes that mount up, and it also feels good. It builds that positive momentum once you start to see the differences. One thing I would say as well, though, is it's so important that if you can find the time, if you can just carve out a little bit of time, exercise is going to lift your mood. It's going to reduce stress. You're going to feel good because you're doing something. And what will normally happen, and we've seen this, is like you might start off with, say, I don't know, let's say you can find even like 20 minutes a day, 20 minutes, like whether that's doing a set of press ups in the morning or going for a 10-minute walk or getting away from your desk at lunch or after work. Just find 20 minutes. You're going to feel good because you've done something. You're going to feel like your stress is down, and you're going to feel a little bit calmer because it releases endorphins when you exercise. And then that feeling makes you feel good. So you're like, well, where can I find that more? You know, I like that feeling. I want a little bit more of that. And, you know, if we look through our phones, and I'm so guilty of this, if I look through my phone of how much I've been on my phone over a week, and my daily average is not good. So if we were a little bit stricter, so we looked at, I don't know, our time on our phones and how much time we spent, I don't know, watching TV, and actually thought about like, where are the places where I could plot stuff in? So like, I don't know, if there's an after school club with my kids, could I go for a walk when they're there? You know, if I'm waiting to pick up the kids, like, could I go for a walk or do something whilst they're doing an activity? So we've got to be a little bit, and this is what I recommend, is just a bit more brutal with the time as well, and potentially hold boundaries a little bit more. All right, we have lost him again. I'm sure he'll be back in a second. So yeah, just talking about maybe just as well how important it is to hold boundaries, whether that's like work. Speak to a lot of clients who, you know, they have their laptop open at 9, 10 o'clock at night. They're straight onto their emails at 7 in the morning. And it's just, you know, it's an added stress. Of course, look, work's really important, but you know, if it's detrimental to your physical, mental health, then it's about looking at what are the things I can do to sort of get off the laptop a little bit, or get off my emails and just not checking things as much. You know, there's always areas where we can insert, I don't know, time and exercise and like food. You know, there's always time that we can try and carve out. But like I said, it's about being brutal. One thing I'd recommend is
having a decent internet connection.
If you're short on time, one thing I'd recommend is just looking at your schedule, like Monday to Friday, or even like the whole week, and just noting down everywhere where you've got your meetings booked in, or you're doing your work, like, and then where's the areas where you could actually do something. And then break it down into smaller chunks. You know, like most people could find time to do 10 press ups, 10 squats whilst, you know, the kettle's boiling in the morning. And yeah, it's not going to be a huge amount, but it's a tick in the right direction. It's a tick in the right direction. That's, do you know what? I'm doing a little bit. And that's sometimes all it needs to be as the catalyst to want to do more. Literally, Tom is in and out. Hopefully he's going to be back and be on a little bit longer, because otherwise it's kind of just me and you guys just rolling with it. One thing I just did want to talk about, and look, this is about trying to find time to help you to lose weight. And I think going back to what Tom said earlier is we think we need to go to the gym and we've got to do a 45-minute or an hour session, which of course, if you can, it's absolutely great. And you're gonna feel good for doing that. But if you can't do that, what are the areas outside of like the gym? Because most people don't want to go to the gym. What are the areas where you can do something? So I'm going to give you a couple of recommendations of things that I think are super important, that are really going to like move the needle forward for you. So the first one, I would recommend making sure you have a good breakfast. So that should be something that's like high in protein, with some carbs, because then that's going to get you through to the lunchtime, and having a nice decent glass of water. So you're going to get a bit of carbs, you're going to get a bit of protein, you're going to get a decent hydration. So start by having a decent breakfast. And then if you're skipping breakfast, you're not going to get to that time at like 11, 12 when you can literally like eat your arm off. Because 9 times out of 10, that next choice is not going to be a healthy, balanced choice. You're going to go for, I don't know, the pastries or the Greggs or the meal deal that's not going to be the best. And also you're not going to have the best nutrition. So it's going to be another sort of step in the wrong direction. So I'd recommend a high protein breakfast and also make sure you're getting good hydration in the morning. A pint first thing in the morning of water, not beer, although it is the World Cup. A pint of water first thing in the morning is going to make a real big difference because hydration is super important. And then it's looking at what are the habits in my life that aren't serving me. So maybe it's snacking between meals because you're not having a high protein breakfast. Maybe you're not having a high protein breakfast lunch. Most people undereat protein by a huge amount. Protein's great because it keeps you fuller for longer. And actually, your body works harder to break down protein. So you actually burn more calories by having a higher protein diet. So if you're snacking, your brain's probably telling you you're hungry, but you're not. You're probably dehydrated and you've not got enough protein in. So add some protein, get hydrated. Look at your habits. Are you on your phone and getting distracted? So potentially yes. So can you then use that time more effectively to do some press ups, to do some squats, to do things like a plank? You don't need a lot of room for these things. Like do 30-second plank and I guarantee you'll be like, all right, I'm feeling that a little bit. And again, it's another tick in the right direction. So look at your habits. And then a big one, massive, sleep. I think it's something like 50% of the population struggle to get a consistent sleep or to get 5 hours sleep. I don't know the exact stats, but 50% of the country aren't sleeping well. So of course you're going to be tired. Of course you're going to want to grab the sugary foods. Of course you're going to want to have your coffees, And also, if you're really tired, your brain's going to want to crave the higher sugar, higher fat foods. So it's so important to really try and prioritize your sleep. So thinking about, can I get into a better sleep routine? So what time do I need to start thinking about winding down, closing your laptop? I recommend not having your phone in your room. So put it on airplane mode. Get an old school alarm clock. Amazon, it'd be there tomorrow. And then when you're up first thing in the morning, try not to go straight onto your phone. Try and get outside. Be consistent with the time you wake up and the time you go to bed. So all these things are going to really help you to sleep better. And then that's like sort of, 3 or 4 changes and habits that hopefully will be sustainable and they become behaviors that you can keep using to keep going forwards. And then you're not as not as important, but you're not as if you are a bit time poor, it's like I don't necessarily need to find the time for the gym then. Right, last attempt. Mr. Hill is back. Right. So yeah, I was just talking about. By the way, this has been great. Just me talking. I've missed you. Not quite what we're expecting, but it's all good. Look, this is a lesson. Like at the end of the day, like things happen, and you just got to roll with the punches. So that's life, right? I was just talking about how if you are short on time, there's definitely things that you can implement into your day. Habits, looking at sleep, improving your hydration, getting your protein in. That then, if you get those into your life consistently, then you don't necessarily have to find 45 minutes an hour to get to the gym, because the gym or the training or the exercise, whatever way you want to sort of like look at it, it's always the icing on top. Are you in the room, Mr. Hill, or I'm back to me? Right, guys, so we are probably, well, I say I am going to wrap up. But yeah, look, one thing I want to leave you with is, I talked about this last week, how it's really important to actually sort of have a hard look at yourself in the mirror, or take the time to find 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and just really sit down and think about what is it I'm actually saying when I say I don't have time. Because realistically, and I'm going to call people out a little bit on this, right? Realistically, you can find the time, because we always find the time for the things that we value, whether that's watching TV or flicking through our phones or going to the pub and all these things. And look, no judgment for me. Like, I enjoy going to the pub and flicking through my phone, doing all these things. But it's also really important to like question those thoughts and beliefs. Is it actually true that I don't have time? Or is it more likely to be true that I'm using that time as an excuse because maybe I'm afraid of, I've got a fear of failure. Just normal. It's quite a normal thought to have. Like, I've tried so many things before, different diet plans, different coaches, maybe personal trainers, all these things. And I haven't quite got to the place I want to get to. So if I say I'm going to carve out some time and I fail again, I'm not going to feel very good about myself. And it's going to be something else I failed at. So when that sort of thought comes into your brain and you're telling yourself you don't have time, question it. Is that actually true? Or is that my brain protecting me from maybe getting out of my comfort zone, maybe trying something again because I've got a history where it just hasn't worked? And then lastly, just want to leave you this. I speak to guys like all day, every day through the week. I like to try and talk to as many people as I can when I'm working. And one of the first things that comes up when people are looking to make some changes, do you know what, Mike, I'd love to do that, but right now I just don't have time. Why are you waiting to make things better? Why are you waiting to make things better? Why are you waiting to make your health better, to reduce stress, to potentially be a better role model for your kids, to be calmer, to I don't know, move up in the ranks because you're feeling better about yourself, you've got more energy? And who puts the pressure on you if you are busy and you are prioritizing work? Who actually puts the pressure on you? Because I speak to men all the time and I said, who actually puts the pressure on you? And they say, me. What happens if you're not at your desk at, I don't know, you're not checking your emails and you're not on your laptop at 9, 10? Nothing. I have to do it tomorrow. Okay. So question, like, who is it that actually puts the pressure on you? Because 9 times out of 10, I'm pretty sure it will be you. And then it's like, is that what you want to do going forwards, or do you want to start being a bit stronger, holding boundaries and find time to do the things that maybe you want to do and put yourself first a little bit? All right, guys, look, obviously that was not ideal, Tom jumping in and out. But look, we roll with the punches because that's how life goes, right? Sometimes things throw you a curveball and you've just got to get on with it. So look, guys, hopefully you got good value from that. As always, I appreciate any comments, any feedback, any questions. And obviously we will go live next week for episode 4. And hopefully Mr. Hill's internet has improved by then. Have a good week, everyone. Cheers.